Welcome to the Growth Minded Accountant podcast, where our experts will share best practices on running your firm in the digital age. This podcast is brought to you by CountingWorks Pro. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Growth Minded Accountant. My name is Lee Reams, your host. I am the founder and CEO of CountingWorks, the all-in-one tax and accounting, marketing and practice management platform that enhances every client touchpoint. Today's discussion, can 90 days change the trajectory of your tax and accounting practice? And our next guest thinks so. We're going to go over some different ideas on how that is possible. So today we are pleased to be joined by Anna Runyan, the brains behind the 90-day planner. I think I'm saying that right. A career strategist and planner, so you can finally have the practice you love that supports the life you want. I think a lot of the highlights are going to be about work-life balance that we're going to get into today. Anna has been featured on Fox, the Wall Street Journal, People's Style Watch magazine. And Anna was, I know you're in Wisconsin now, but you were nominated at your previous city, San Diego Magazine's Woman of the Year, and your podcast was named as one of Yahoo's 10 best. So welcome, Anna. Please introduce yourself to our audience and a little background, please.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, so I started a little blog back in 2010 and turned that into my full-time career. I produce lots of content and also lots of courses. I have a membership site, and I also have a career coach certification program as well. So three little daughters as well. So like you said, we can definitely talk about work-life balance. I have an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 9-month-old, all girls. And so it's busy. It's a busy life. I run the business with my husband as well. So so it's a lot of fun, and I love the topics we're going to talk about today. So I'm excited.
All right, awesome. So to make sure I get this right, it's classycareergirl.com is your main site, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
That is the blog that started in 2010, and it was just a little hobby. And now, that's what's changed my life basically, is starting that little blog.
So let's talk a little bit about it, because what we talk to our tax and accounting pros about is thought leadership and how do they establish themselves as an expert in any given field. So whether they're specializing in accounting for restaurants or virtual CFO services, the internet makes it very easy to create content, but it's kind of hard to understand where to start. And then how that actually builds an audience and makes your business more valuable. So looking through your site, and since you started in 2010, I want to actually go to the beginnings of how did you decide what to write about? How did you decide where your narrative would be? I know where it is today, and I say everyone should go see your site. We try to get our accountants to build very kind of storytelling sites like this. Lots of pictures of you. It's personable. I get your personality, and it actually helps build trust with your audience and makes them feel, hey, I'm willing to start a relationship with this person. So give me a little background on kind of how you got started and what was the change that made that blog take off.
Yeah. And I always say it all started with just me wanting to help people and me wanting to help share things that I wish I would have known. In the working world as a woman, I was in a male-dominated career field at that time, and I still had a day job, so I was doing this on the side. And that's really where it started. It started from a passion. It started with me just wanting to help people. And that's what I would recommend for your listeners too, is if you can turn this into something that where you're serving your audience, you're doing what you just said, which you're building that trust and that relationship with them. One thing that's always helped me is just thinking, I just want to help one person today. Because I think a lot of times when you start, you feel like you need thousands and thousands of blog readers. And that's not how mine started. Mine started with like my mom reading my blog, right?
Yeah, one page view.
Yeah, but as I stayed consistent, consistency is really key here. And every week I published a blog post where it was just trying to help that one person, just trying to get that one reader. And eventually that turned into every day, somehow, some way. And I still do this today. I just want to help one person. That could be an Instagram post. It could be a tweet. I could go on Instagram Live. It could be a podcast episode. It could be a blog post, whatever it is. I just want to help and serve one person. So if one person looks at it, one person says thank you in some way, then I know that I have completed my job for that day. And that helped me just kind of really simplify this whole blogging world and know that I was helping people and supporting people. So I think your audience already, they love to help people. They're in this business because they want to help and serve people. And so if you go back to how can I help someone today, what are those common questions that you're getting on a routine basis, and how can you create content around that to answer those questions, to build up your authority, to build up that expertise that you have. And in the beginning, what I was doing, because I didn't have experience in the beginning and expertise as a career coach, which is the field I wanted to go into. And so I was interviewing other career coaches, and I was interviewing other authors, and I was interviewing people who I was really excited about learning from. And that's where I started to learn myself and build up my expertise too. So if you don't know where to start, there's a lot of different ways to start. There's a lot of, there's, we talk about blogging, but a lot of people don't like to write, so I always say, do you like to go on camera and talk? Or do you just want to not be on camera and just, turn on a podcast and turn on the audio and record the sound? And we can turn that then into a blog post. There's many ways that you can turn, your audio content or your video content into a blog post, so that you can serve your audience in many different ways. Some people just like to listen, some people want to watch you on a video, and some people like to read because they're busy people. So I think that's from the beginning is how I started, is just realizing, for me, it was writing. I am an introvert. I love to write. And so for me, it was figuring out that one thing I enjoyed doing, being able to help one person every day. And then from there, we can get into what happened next. But because I had built that relationship with people, it was a lot easier to sell them my products.
So this is interesting too. When you say helps one person every day, does that mean you're looking at one particular pain point that you're looking at? This is my persona, the person I'm trying to speak to. I'm going to speak directly to them and develop content around that person's pain point. Is that the approach you use?
I go based off my inspiration. Like I kind of go based off what, if I've been working with a client and there's one topic that comes up and I think, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to do a tweet with that tip that I have, or I'm going to go on Instagram Live and I'm just going to talk about what you said, that one pain point that they have, that one question that they had. But my goal is just, I don't care how many people watch it. Because I think that's the hard part, is you feel like you need a lot of people to watch, and you get on Instagram and you post, but only one person sees it or something, and you feel bad. And that's where I like to celebrate the one person, right? Or celebrate your 100 followers. You don't need 1,000 followers. Like, let's celebrate the people that we do have following with us and build relationships with those people. And then it will continue to grow.
Yeah, well, it's a lot about engagement as well. So, if you're getting a targeted audience and someone who is, who you want to speak with, if you did only have 50 show up versus 10,000 people that could really care less, I think that's a big deal. So I'm going to get into if you use any other tools to help you. So a lot about you're just kind of intuitive deciding. Part of our VIP program is we have a tool, kind of an AI scraping tool that helps us at least identify if we're going after a specific audience, or let's say we want to talk about a topic. It will say, these are the top 20 articles right now that you're competing with. If you're going to write content that you're going to try to beat them, it will actually create a brief. It will tell us what the H1 should be, so what the topic title should be, what the subhead should be, exactly kind of how many words, how many authority links, outbound links, et cetera, that we should do. And it's a great tool for our clients. So we do that we create these briefs for our clients and help them establish themselves as an authority in whatever that is. People also use Google Trends. A lot in developing content is learning what the algorithms are doing. So sometimes it's kind of like, wait a second, I don't know. We write news articles on our TaxBuzz site, for example, and I never can tell what article is going to go viral or not. And you could put 10 of them in front, and I would be wrong on 5. The 5 out of 10 that I thought would be great don't, and then these others go because they're trending. They're social cues, and once the algorithm takes them, that's when you go from 100 readers to we'll have some with hundreds of thousands of people viewing an article. What do you do when are you that scientific now, or are you still kind of going with your gut?
So we use a lot of SEO, and I think the product that you have sounds like amazing for your audience too, because keyword research is huge for us. And so I have someone that actually helps me with keyword research, just like you, and that kind of analysis. And she presents me with these keywords. And once I have the keywords, it's a lot easier for me to do what I just said with the inspiration, right? Because I have that direction and I kind of know where we're going. So for example, we're coming up on planning season, New Year planning season. And so I have that list of those keywords that I need to put into my title, my H1, like I need to write some blog content about planning and using those exact keywords. So for me, that's super helpful having that direction. And then I can take that and create content around that. And what I like to do as well is I like to see what works well on social media first. So say I have an idea about, a planner or something, or some sort of planning tip, and I'll post something on like Instagram or my Facebook group. I'll post it there and I'll see how it does. And so lately I've had some reels do really well on Instagram, and then I'll take that content and then I'll create a whole blog post about it. So that's kind of how I gauge what my audience really wants, is by doing the daily kind of, quick posts on Instagram. And if something goes a little viral, then I'll take that. I'm like, okay, I need to create a whole blog post about this. I need to create a video on this, and I need to create a podcast on it, because this is what my audience wants.
Yeah, we do the same thing with email. So we'll A/B test different angles or narratives, I would say, maybe different headlines. And based on the feedback, as you said, on social, what's great about the internet, you get instant feedback. So for that, if we do test a few things, and what we do is help our marketing team then change our talking points, maybe even the headlines on our website, maybe what content is position A versus below the fold kind of thing. So I think that's all very useful. So one of the things that I wanted to get into is you have your own niche or focus, I would say. And what do you think is the importance if a tax and accounting firm was thinking of getting into blogging? Do you suggest they focus on a specific area? Is it the passion? Maybe there's a service that they really are good at, or really a certain type of client they love working with. Should they develop content around that, or try to do kind of generalist things? So what would be your suggestion for a pro just getting started in blogging?
I think it goes first on what you just said, is what are you passionate about? What are you excited about? What do people repeatedly ask you for help with? Because that's going to come a lot more naturally. What I don't want is for people to start a blog because they think that they should, or they should do it a certain way. And so for me, it's always about like, what could you do? What could you write about or talk about for hours and hours and not get bored? And I think that is really important, as far as like, that's kind of like your superpower. I want you to start a blog with your superpower, the thing that you're really an expert at, the thing that, you become a leader and an expert, and people start to look at you because you can uniquely solve that problem for them. So I always look at like, what are those needs that are not being addressed, for your ideal clients right now? Where can you kind of come in, as far as maybe there's no one else, blogging about a certain topic that you know how to do. For example, I wrote a blog post about how to take maternity leave as a business owner. That was not any sort of content out there. I had 3 maternity leaves and no one told me how to do it. And so after the third one, I'm like, okay, I'm an expert now. Like, I'm going to create that content that is that I'm passionate about and that I'm excited about. Now, I don't teach people, like, my products and services aren't about motherhood or maternity leave. Like, I don't have a product about any of that, but I'm relating to my clients and I'm showing them who I am. A lot of my clients are moms. A lot of them are entrepreneurs. And so I'm like kind of opening it up another part of my life and like sharing with them and like connecting with them. And that builds that trust, that builds that relationship. So when doors to a product or service that I have do open, they're going to be more interested in working with me. Or if they want to get on a call with me, they're going to get on that call to talk about my coaching program, but they're going to already they already know me. It's not a call that they're just taking, to get to know me. They're most likely 80% sold by the time they get on the call with me too, because I've created this content where they kind of get to know me as well. So I don't think it has to be exclusively 100% about your business. I would recommend your audience brings in who they are and what they do in their personal life as well, so that, you know, your audience can get to know them a little bit better too.
Yeah, we call it pre-selling, and that's what your website and your digital presence is all about. So we try to communicate, and tax and accounting firms, they're risk adverse. So like putting out their personality like you have on your website, where I can feel, I have an idea of who you are right away. And then what I agree with is it does build that trust. It does do that relationship building. And then you throw in some reviews, so some social proof here or there, and then it reinforces your message and your narrative. You are correct. By the time someone wants to get on a discovery call with you, they're pre-sold. They're ready to buy. Your job is more, okay, what are the next steps? Let's getting into how we're going to work together. Or more importantly, you've created a package basically on your site. I signed up and I had a download, and now you're nurturing me through email, but you're selling a service in a package and for a price, whatever. But you're able to do that in the tax accounting space as well. So it's taken away the whole idea of a business that is built on charging by the hour. And you're basically going to be able to sell your expertise in new ways and packages. So what made you transform your blog to a more for-profit? So not just eyeballs coming to read about you, you're now selling services and packages. So kind of explain to me how that transition occurred.
Yeah, and one point for that too is you can do blog content about your clients too. And sometimes I do case studies and success stories on my blog as well. So you can actually feature your clients. So you're not even like selling your product. You could just feature your success stories is something that we do as well too. So my blog turned into a business when I realized that there were other people doing the same thing, and other people were turning their blogs into the businesses as well. So I think just seeing that out there and seeing what was possible was really inspirational to me too. So I did an informational interview with someone one day, and they said, you should start an email list. And so that was like my first light bulb moment of, oh, I could turn this into a business, and I should work on that email list. And so I did, I think that next day, and I got my first subscriber. And then from there, I was like, this is going to be my full-time thing. So I didn't change too much besides I still, did the consistent content. I think for me, it was that I had a goal now. Like I was going to actually generate an income from this blog. And I started to create, those revenue projections. I had to figure out, what I was going to make in my business and what that goal looked like and how that blog was going to generate that income, and create the products and services around the blog, and doing surveys to kind of figure out what my audience wanted me to create as well. And then I noticed the problem and created products and services around what they needed, and still do today. I still am listening to what they want, creating new things, because, entrepreneurship is exciting. There's always new things to create and new challenges that you face. And it's exciting to be able to help and support people and to create digital products as well. As a mom, I don't have a ton of time. And so I've had to do less, and your audience might be the same way too. It's less one-on-one that I do now, and a lot more group programs and workshops and masterminds and the things where I get to impact a lot more people.
Well, you're learning how to scale, and you're creating processes around scale. So every client is a unique, it's not a unique situation where you have to learn about them. We try to teach our pros this as well, where when a new client comes in, if they're very similar backgrounds, whatever demographic you're targeting, you're already going to know the answers to their questions. You're going to know what to ask them. And I think what this does is it also gives a perceived value of getting a premium price. If you are that thought leader, if you are that expert, and you've established yourself through content, you will be able to get more people converting, but you'll be able to charge more than what a generalist would do. So that's my commentary. I'm off a little bit, but one thing I wanted to talk about is what would be one of your most successful content launches, and how did you do it? What was the method behind it, and kind of what were the results? And because I think it's interesting, a lot of times people don't think outside of the box and they don't test things. I mean, the whole thing of iterating on the internet is very quick. You get feedback and you move forward and refine, but kind of give some background there.
Yeah, and this is a perfect point to illustrate too that a lot of my best content launches comes from just sharing my personal life and my personal stories and what I've learned as well, like the maternity leave thing. But my most popular blog post ever was a post I wrote about 15 ways I paid off $80,000 of debt. And I wrote it in 2012, and it still generates a ton of traffic today. But from Pinterest is actually where that one just went viral for many, many years. It generated hundreds of thousands of people to that one blog post. And that's why I never planned for that to be a launch. It had nothing to do with my business. I don't teach people how to get out of debt. That's not my product or service.
Right.
But a lot of my audience is in debt, right? So it actually works. A lot of women came from Pinterest to that page and then said, oh, what's Classy Career Girl? And then they went on my site and saw a bunch of other stuff and opted into my email list and everything. So, and that was completely organic. There was no ads or nothing like that. But that taught me that every post is a launch is kind of my answer to that, because you don't know which blog post is going to go viral. You don't know which one's going to be number one in SEO. There's no way for us to really tell. And so that's why I think I really do treat every blog post that I create. And right now it's once a week, we're putting out a blog post. Any one of those posts could be the one, right? So for me, it's exciting when I press publish on something. I think back to that one post. I'm like, this could be it, and we pin it. We share it all over. And, years later, even like now, a lot of our most popular content is from like 2018, 2019. We still have my top YouTube video is something I created, I think, in many, many years ago about the top 10 most asked interview questions. So, but at the time, you never know which one is going to be the one that people really, really want to read and listen to and share with their friends. And so you have a lot of opportunity. If you create good content, one of them, two of them, a lot of them are going to be popular as long as you just don't give up. Now, I will say there's a lot of posts that have not done well, like no repins, not a lot of views. But you can't give up. You have to keep going because you just never know.
I love the cricket posts. Yeah, so we had a concept one time that went completely south, and it went in a negative way. We talked about what do you do if you get a 1-star review, and like someone misread the subject line, and then they're basically acting like we said they got a 1-star review. And so it's interesting though the way people react to your content from a planning standpoint. When you're developing, you don't really know. And then once they start looking at it, it kind of can go in different directions. You keep talking about evergreen content. Basically, what we have found with especially our VIP clients that have been with us for a long time, their sites just build more and more authority. We have a client right now that has 200 page one keywords on page one of Google. They have 80 that is number one. They have 80 more that are 2 to 5, and the rest 6 to 10 on page one. And it's amazing how that works. But the problem a lot of people have, and not just tax and accounting pros, is they don't understand this is a long game. It takes patience. It takes a long time to build up your authority. And you've been talking about consistency. And I think a lot of any business owner who starts blogging, they don't do it often enough. And Google wants to see that. If you're a thought leader, you should be out there often, right? So we see a lot of what I consider dinosaur sites. Where someone they probably hired a designer or an agency to build a site, and they did 3 blogs, and 2015 is the last blog post. And Google looks at that. There's no fresh content here. Why are we going to be promoting this business, right? How can they be a thought leader if they haven't thought in 6 years or whatever? So I'm going to move to kind of a different thing. What do you say? And this is about my trainer. I CrossFit, and my trainer always said, I don't have enough time is the dumbest excuse ever, because you always have enough time to do things. So I hear it, well, I don't have enough time to, write a blog. I'm sure there's so many hours you're wasting on Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're doing. So how do you get people inspired, which is going to lead me into your 90-day planner. We're going to talk all about your 90-day planner, because I think it's about developing habits and consistency. But answer the first question, kind of like, what would be your advice to someone who said, I just can't do it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think you have all the time you need for what matters most. That's what I try and tell myself. And how can it be easy too? Like sometimes we think of these big projects and we're like overwhelmed. And so that's what I would start to think is like, how can you make blogging easy? A lot of us as entrepreneurs, we have a lot of ideas. And so I'm always writing those ideas down. There's got to be a place where you're like kind of capturing frequently asked questions that your audience has, or if you have an idea or you're talking on this podcast. As I was preparing for this today, I have a lot of ideas that I'm going to take and go on Instagram later and kind of flesh out those thoughts a little bit, because you inspired me to create more content. And so I'm always thinking like, how can I use this to help that one person, right? Like, who needs to hear what I've prepared here today? How can I take this and put it on social media? And then 15 minutes, like if you can carve 15 minutes into your calendar, you can do a lot in 15 minutes, whether it's just taking an idea and kind of like writing down some notes on a notepad. Or if you are on a computer and if you like to write, you can write a lot in 15 minutes. Or if you just like to talk, just talk into a microphone. We can transcribe that and turn that 15 minutes into a blog post. And so I think it's making it easy. It's telling yourself it doesn't take a lot of time. And then also I think for business owners, it's just remembering that this is part of your priorities as well. And so that's what I think about too, is growing an audience is one of my priorities. Building my business is a priority. I have a big why, right? This business provides for my family, and there's a lot of goals and dreams that I have. And so blogging factors into my why and like why I'm doing this as well. And so it does excite me, and there is that time for it. And I try and create content that excites me and I'm passionate about and that I have fun doing as well. And there's ways that you can make it fun too. If it's exciting to you to interview others, you could do that. If it's exciting for me, I love interviewing my clients because it's super fun to hear about the results that they're getting for my programs. And so, it's a quick Zoom. I record it and turn that into, we transcribe it, turn it into a blog post. A lot of your audience probably has, maybe you have admin support or you have a virtual assistant. They can do a lot of this for you. Creating doing the tech side of the blog post. And I'm sure that's what you help people with as well. But think of how
we make that easy. We have our tool includes a blog publishing aspect. We automatically share it with social and all kinds of fun things. And we have actually a community we are developing. We're making a big change in our taxbuzz.com site where we're going to start pushing all of our pros as thought leaders inside one big community. So we're going to give them a secondary audience, a big domain authority to get their names out there. So lots of cool things. So our promise today was it could take 90 days and we can make a change in your business. And I believe in this. I don't know, I've gone through some of your program, but I'm a big believer that when you make a choice to make a change and invest in yourself, for example, the blogging is an investment, it's an asset. And once you develop it, again, as we talked about evergreen content, you said 2015 article, 2018, you're still getting a huge return on that effort. The same thing happens for tax and accounting firms. So explain a little bit about what is the 90-day planner, how does it work, and what makes your advice make that change for someone?
Yeah, and it came because of when you create annual goals, sometimes that's like big and it's overwhelming and you do it January 1st and you kind of forget about it. And so our process that we teach is every 90 days, we create a new annual plan. Every 90 days, we relook at your vision. Maybe we create a new vision board because so much can change in 90 days. And from there, when you know your vision, when you have that annual plan, then it's a lot easier to know like where you're going to go over the next 90 days. And so, for example, one of the things that you could do over the next 90 days is launch a blog, right? And so there's ways that you can kind of break that down into your first 30 days. What are you going to do in those 30 days? And we kind of break down what we want to do. Maybe we want to come up with blog ideas, or we want to figure out the tech. And then in 60 days, maybe you want to, publish 3 to 5 articles on that site. or create your launch plan. And then the final 90 days, then we launch, and we can celebrate that launch, that we have your first visitors. And so that's kind of any big goal that I have in my business. I've done this for creating a physical planner. I'm doing this now. I'm writing a book. I break it down into 90-day action plans, into that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, because for me, it just really helps me to see on a monthly basis then how I'm doing towards those 90-day goals.
Yeah, I think it's about focus. And, I went to the USC's entrepreneur program, and one of the terms they use is popcorn head. And a lot of people sometimes have all these ideas, but all you're doing is you're just all over the place. You're never going to actually implement one of them very well. So I think what you're saying is this is a way to help you, your process is a way to focus your efforts and to be able to be accountable to that. And then, so at my end of my 90, I'm actually doing another, I consider this like development. You're doing another sprint, basically. Here's our 2-week sprints. That's what we do in technology. You're doing it in 90 days for your business and life, I guess. So then when you're analyzing what you did before, do you then, how does that iterate in the next 90 days?
Yeah. So at the beginning of every 90 days, we have a looking back section. So one of the things you definitely want to do is you want to look back. You want to see what worked, what didn't work, where your biggest time wasters are, the wins. You want to make sure you celebrate the wins. There's been some wins that you have. So you definitely want to look at that. But for me, one of the questions I always ask myself is I look back over the last 90 days and I ask myself, when did I have the most fun? When did I actually enjoy my business? Because that's what it comes down to, is we should be having fun as business owners as well. And bringing our clients want to hire you when you're having fun too, and your business is fun. So that's a big eye-opener question I always ask myself every 90 days. And then I bring that into the next 90 days. So if there was something fun that I did, and it could be personal, it could be business, whatever in your life over the last 90 days, we want more of that. And we'll bring that energy into the next 90 days. So that's always a really great focusing question that helps me plan the next 90 days.
All right. I'm going to go back to your website and your bio. And again, it's classycareergirl.com. You truly spell out kind of your story, your images, personal images you bring in. I get a vibe of what you're all about, right? So it's a well-done narrative. How much do you think, we talked about this a little bit before, but how much do you think that adds to your success in building that trust and bringing on more clients versus a more, and I call this the accountant who does an about us page that doesn't have any pictures, doesn't really it's just the same old bio that you see over and over again. They don't do this full narrative. And we push so hard, especially our VIP clients. We have copywriters who actually write these for you and help you do it. And we have photographers that can come take pictures of you. But how much do you think that is part of your success on your overall business?
It's so important. I mean, if you ask any of my clients why they're working with me, it's because of who I am. It's because of something that they have connected with in my story. So for example, I have, a mom of 2 kids, and she connects with me because I'm a business owner and I have the kids and I'm running this business as well. And, or for example, someone else, I worked for 8 years for the government. So I have another client who's working with me, and the reason she's working with me is because she could connect with the fact that she works for the government, and I knew what it was like to, try and transition away from the government and become an entrepreneur. And so every client I have relates to some part of my journey. I used to live in San Diego. And so I had a lot of clients who related, I live in San Diego. Now I'm in Wisconsin, and I have people, oh, you live in Wisconsin. I do too. And so there's always that's why I tell my story on the about page. That's why I have a personal Instagram account and I have a business Instagram account. And every day I'm sharing something on my personal and I'm resharing it then onto my business account, because those are the posts that actually are the most popular in my Instagram stories, is when I reshare my personal into my business account as well. And so I really think people need a face. They buy from people they know, they like, they trust. And so it's important to kind of share your journey and to connect with them along that journey. There has to be connection points through your whole journey of starting your business to where you are today, to what you love to do. to what your values are. Why are you running the business? Those are the things that people want to connect with you on. And even today we have a career coach certification program, and we certify career coaches to go out there and teach my frameworks, and all of them have to abide by my mission and my values. And so knowing that when they come in, and then just they want that. They want to be a part of something more and bigger than themselves. And so I think you're giving people a community almost to be a part of, and a mission to be part of your brand.
And I think that is very true. We have a Tax Buzz chat we do every month, and it's a group of Twitter users who are tax pros, CPAs, and it is building a little community, and people enjoy sharing their knowledge and helping other people, and being able to put it on Twitter. Lots and lots of people can see it, and I think it's a big deal. You had mentioned I'm not going to call you your target audience, but you specialize in women-led businesses or entrepreneurs. One of our board members, Therese Tucker, she's not the CEO anymore, but she was the founder and CEO of Blackline, which went public. They're in the accounting space. So we know women can do amazing things. And a lot of times, especially in the tech side, the percentages that get funded are much less. So what are the special challenges? And we're not everyone's trying to become a tech software company, but you're dealing with smaller businesses and coaching them along. So what are the special, I would call it, challenges that you see in women-led businesses? And then how does your advice address them specifically and help them achieve great things?
I think women need a lot more. I think we need support. We need communities, kind of what we were just talking about. I think it's pretty lonely, whether you're in your career, you're working as an employee, or you're an entrepreneur, it can be really, really lonely trying to figure it out yourself. And so I think now there's so many people that you can look up to. There's so many mentors that you can have. There's so many people that are doing amazing things as women that inspire us. I know I get inspired by other women. That's how I figure out what's going to be on my vision board, is like seeing what other women are doing, and I get inspired by that. And unfortunately, I don't get as inspired by what men are doing. I get really
come on,
by what other
we do good things as well.
But what other, especially moms? I mean, I think for me as a mom of 3, when I see other moms doing amazing things, but I think that's a challenge. I mean, obviously I have 3 kids, I'm still a mama of a 9-month-old trying to run a business as well. And so time is definitely a challenge, and support, going through, the whole pregnancy, maternity leave, doing our careers, and not giving up on our purpose to serve people as well in our businesses too. And so I think for me, getting support, whether it's personally in your personal life or in your business, getting a coach. Over the last year, I've had through my 3rd pregnancy, I knew I needed help and I needed support. And so I got a coach for myself that I was meeting with on a weekly
basis. Coach?
Yeah, I needed one. I needed one. And so I think meeting with her on a weekly basis, going through, because it was the end of my pregnancy and I was like, how am I going to do maternity leave? And, I needed that support, and I needed to have a community, and I needed to have other people, look from an outsider's perspective of what I was trying to do. Because I don't know a lot of entrepreneur moms with 3 kids, it's like, it's a lot. And so I think that that's a big challenge, but I think there's so many opportunities to get a mentor. There's so many other opportunities to get support online. There's so many people that want to help each other. So I think it's an exciting time to grow as an entrepreneur.
So, I mean, in the accounting industry used to be more male dominated. It actually turned to more females in certain niches in certain areas. If you were advising or coaching someone who's maybe at a bigger firm and wants to go out on their own, especially a female to start her own practice, like with the 90-day plan, how would you because that's the one thing I realized. A lot of people don't understand how to plan. They don't know what actually is going to happen in the future. And they just kind of go out there and just throw it out there and see what sticks. And what happens is they attract all these various clients that have no connection to each other at all. And then you end up building a generalist firm. So, if you were coaching one of, a female in the accounting industry who's, again, at a bigger firm, wants to go out on their own, kind of what would be your advice in the beginning just to get them grounded and focused?
Yeah, there are a lot of women that need you for sure, that need other women to support them and help. I know that would be awesome to be able to go out on your own. What I would point them to is I have a whole employee to entrepreneur success path. I've called it corporate rescue plan, actually. And so in the beginning, basically, it's all about figuring out your why, your purpose, your vision, what your strengths are, what you love to do and what you enjoy doing, and really starting the ideal business for you, your ideal work day, your favorite skills, because everything really comes back to career fulfillment. If you're happy, you're going to be able to attract clients to you as well. And so kind of carving out that path of who you are, what you enjoy doing. And then from there, we're all about planning, like you said. And so the next step then really is creating that business plan, doing your market research, really figuring out who your ideal client is going to be, also creating like your promotion plan. And then we always do your profit plan as well too. So we always want to make sure that we have a plan for how many clients you need to be able to reach your goals as well. And so we highly recommend doing a budget for your personal life, so you kind of can figure out like what is that income level that you need to make in your business in order to pay your bills, right? Like we need to make sure we know what that number is. And if we know a number that you want to reach in your business, then from there we can backtrack and figure out like how many products and services we need to sell, what your profit needs to be at the end of the day. And all of that will really help you get clarity and confidence, so you have a plan. So a lot of people don't have a plan when they're starting their business. And so all of those things I would put into your 90-day plan. Like everything I just talked about, that's kind of what we help our clients go through in 90 days inside of my membership, to really create that rock solid plan. So we've had people quit their day jobs in 90 days, just having all of that ready to go. Because then from that day, and a lot of our clients, they choose, some start on the side and some start their business the day they resign from their day job. So you can go either way. But that allows like a really solid takeoff once you have all those plans done and you have a wide open slate to be able to launch your business.
Yeah, it makes me laugh. We have people who will hire us to build them a website, and they'll say, but we don't want anyone to find it yet because my current employer doesn't know what I'm doing. We're like, well, it's not going to quite work like that. We're going to have to go in reverse. But now I know with this 90-day plan, so you said you have a physical planner too, like a Erin Condren kind of planner,
Yeah.
or okay. And how would somebody, so let's talk about, you could go ahead and sell now, kind of explain to me how, if someone, liked your story and they're like, motivated, and they're like, wow, let me look at this 90-day planner. How would they work with you? What is the process? Kind of explain some background.
So yeah, the best way is to come over and get your free 90-day planner. You can do that at classycareergirl.com/free plan. I get the planner we've been talking, the planner we've been talking about. And yeah, we do have physical planners that we do sell on the membership site too, but you can do a lot with the digital planner. I know everything is digital these days, so a lot of people like to have just like it right in front of them. I know I have my planner is like sitting right next to me here. I gotta have the pen and paper, and so that's why we do have it physical as well too. But yeah, I have a podcast as well, and would love if anyone's interested, come on over and join the community.
That is awesome, and I appreciate you spending time with us. Is there anything else you wanted to add that I didn't cover about kind of at least the content creation side? Or I think we've gotten some pretty good advice here for people.
Yeah, I think just start somewhere. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I look back at my first blog post and there was some mistakes.
Was there grammar issue? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there was some errors along the way. We've had to delete some posts. I was like, oh, what was I thinking? But I'm so glad I started. So I think that's where I would leave everyone with is I'm so glad I started, because it opened up so many opportunities for me, for my life, things I never would have imagined. And so you just never know if you don't start. So you got to start it.
All right. My last thing is, okay, I go do the 90 days and I get through 90 days. And by the 90th day, I'm like so flustered and busy with my job and my running my business that I kind of lose my track and don't do the next 90. So how do you keep people on track to continue this and make this a part of their life versus a fad like diet is kind of the way I would compare it to.
Well, the good news is you can always come back to it. I know when I was in my first trimester of pregnancy, I lost it all. I was like, I can't do it. I was sick and I couldn't do it. So I get it. But the good news is you can always come back to it, because if you have that annual plan at the beginning of the year, then you can always kind of go back to that and kind of restart your 90 days as well. In our community, in our membership community, we do it every 90 days together. So we do like a 90-day planning challenge together every 90 days. Because the goal really is like the more you do it and you make it like a routine in your life, and then it just becomes a habit, and then you like can't imagine your life without it. And so that's kind of how our clients are as well, is like, once you kind of get into this habit of planning out every 90 days, you kind of feel lost without it. And then the next step too, then, is to kind of plan out your weeks and to plan out your days. And we didn't really talk about that today as well, but all of that, even if you feel like you're off track, just plan your day, just plan your week, just start there. If that's, if that makes it simple to get started up again too.
Yeah, I always say to my daughter plays water polo, and water polo is a lot about conditioning and speed in the pool. And they want her to cut 10 seconds off her time, on her 100-meter time. And I basically said, well, don't think about 10 seconds. Think about cutting 1 second a month. And and you break it down into smaller. And I think that's kind of what you're doing with your 90-day planner, where you're focusing, what can we do well? Let's get that done, and then move on to the next thing. I'm assuming that's some of the skills I would learn by following your advice.
Yep, definitely. We can definitely help you break it all down and give you that action plan.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Anna. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for your time. And if anyone wants to reach out, we have all that information in the description as well, and our contact info. So again, thank you for spending 50 minutes or so with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. This was fun.